Today, we are talking about what's going on when kids start acting or behaving like they're narcissistic or borderline parents or BPD parents. This is a direct response to a viewer question, more specifically, actually, a client question. I am obviously going to do everything to keep this individual confidential and anonymous, but it's a good question. And I know that a lot of other people have similar questions and will benefit from this question. So we're going to talk about what is going on with kids when they start emulating or demonstrating or displaying similar behaviors as like their high conflict parent does, the high conflict BPD parent or the high conflict NPD parent, NPD, BPD, narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. So a lot of people often express to me too, like they say, I'm concerned that my child is going to grow up to have a personality disorder like them. My response is universally that you ought to be. That is definitely something that you ought to be concerned about. However, I'm cautious to tell people that because I find that if people become anxious about something, they tend to shut down, they tend to withdraw, they tend to experience a higher level of paralysis when it's vital and important and essential that you become as proactive and deliberate and intentional about how you approach parenting and about how you approach the child as you possibly can. I realize that if you have a high conflict X, maybe your strategy up until this point has been to be really passive and to avoid conflict. And most people universally agree that the more that they try to avoid conflict, the more the situation just deteriorates and gets worse and worse and worse. That almost seems to embolden those with NPD or BPD, that the more passive you become, that just more bold they become, more brazen they become, more aggressive, and just even nasty they become. So we're going to break a lot of this stuff down. We're going to break down these dynamics, some of the things that you can do about it, ways to kind of look at all of this in this video. If you're new here, my name's Scott. I'm a licensed therapist here in the beautiful state of Utah. I specialize in a number of things: child development, adolescent development, child behavior, adolescent behavior, parenting, parent-child dynamics, family therapy, high conflict, divorce and custody, narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. I'm one of the few out there that you will likely find that works interchangeably with the interplay of the various dynamics that comes with these, like co-parenting, parental alienation, resiliency, like uh, properly parenting a kid who's dealing with a high conflict parent, setting boundaries, court issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I'm one of the few that offers a coaching or consultation types of um, services to address the interplay of all these issues. So, without further ado, this email came to me. I'm just going to read a small snippet from it, and this is the basis of this video. Okay, so child displays so many behaviors that his mom does, that the child is learning from her. How does one tell the difference between learned behavior and diagnosing with a child with BPD or NPD? Can you even diagnose a child with those disorders? Great question. Thank you for this. I'm sure a lot of people will also have similar questions. I realize that it's easy to see a child acting this way and think, oh, the kid is developing or has a personality disorder. We do not diagnose children with personality disorder before the age of 18. That's according to the DSM. I'm very much in support of that. Um, and I actually think we ought to raise the age to like 21, because I believe with the proper interventions, we can divert a child from certain behaviors, certain ways of thinking, learning to manage their emotions, and all of that. I think that's extraordinarily important for the child. But what's really important here to emphasize with this particular question is no, we do not diagnose a child with personality disorder. We do not. And I think it's really, really important to not look at them and think, oh, he or she has a personality disorder. They don't have a core personality. There's no core sense of self. They have no core identity. There's no ego strength being developed. They don't internalize what they're doing whatsoever. They're just mimicking behavior. Okay. Um, the A big deal when it comes to personality disorders is that they have what we call an identity disturbance, and to me, that's a very, very, very crucial diagnostic criteria. With kids, there's no identity disturbance because they haven't formed an identity. Their identity is still forming. Kids between the ages of like 11 and 14, that is some of the most crucial formative years. Um, that's when I feel like the interventions are very, very important, either prior to that or pretty hardcore. And hardcore, I mean, when I say hardcore, I just mean really deliberate and really consistent. I'll get into that a little bit more before the end of this video. But no, I think it's going to work against you if you think, man, this kid has a personality disorder. That's going to really work against you. It's going to change how you talk to that child, approach that child, or regard that child. Instead, what you ought to do is think, this is a child. It's just they need to be taught, they need to be directed, and frankly, their behavior needs to be shaped. One of my original skill sets that I've had for years is just basic behavior modification, is learning to shape a child's behavior. It sounds kind of bad. It actually can be very beneficial for the child, because it's like, if we don't help shape and mold a child's behavior, they're going to have a very hard life. Very difficult life if we don't help shape and mold their behavior when they're young. So no, it is really crucial that we don't look at the child and think, wow, he or she has a personality disorder. I realize that their behavior and the things that come out of their mouth are exactly like the high conflict parent. It's uncanny, it's creepy even, how they're able to just like enact certain behaviors, like almost, yeah, to the T. Again, it's just that they're mimicking the behaviors. They don't really internalize them. So you have to hold them in the proper context. This is a child. Now, one of the things that I specialize in, and end up working with a lot of my clients on, particularly those who contact me or seeking help with high conflict divorce and custody, is resiliency based parenting. Too many of those apologetic parents think, oh, I need to protect this child from that parent. That's not realistic. And to be honest, unfortunately, I think too many of you might live in a little bit of a state of denial, just in regards to that harm has not already been done, or the influence has not already happened. Okay, it's better to think, okay, they've already been exposed to this. They're going to be exposed to this. I need to help them be more resilient. And it's got to come from you. If it doesn't come from you, it ain't going to happen. If you don't teach them the correct messages about life and relationships and personal accountability, etc., personal accountability is a big one. It's huge. Kids need to learn that personal accountability piece, that they are responsible for their own emotions and their own behavior, and etc., because we all know what happens if you go through life blaming everybody but yourself, right? You just become a miserable human being that has a hard time holding down any kind of relationships, and and it's just everything is a struggle for people who have zero personal accountability. Everything's a struggle. Okay, but when people contact me and they're maybe seeking help with things like parental alienation or co-parenting, things like that, one of the things I almost universally end up working with them on is resiliency parenting. Parenting in such a way to help the child be more resilient, helping them parent in such a way so that your relationship with them is more resilient. Because the other parent is going to fill that child's head with all kinds of false information about you. That's child abuse, by the way. It's absolutely child abuse when HCBMs, high conflict borderline moms, are deliberately filling a child's head with information that's going to harm their relationship with a loving parent. That's child abuse. It's out of control these days. It's absolutely out of control. But I help a lot of people basically kind of deal with those issues. Okay, there's a lot of different ways that we can help shape and mold the child's behavior. I'll give you a couple of quick tips on this video before I end it. A lot of my clients have heard me say this over and over again: consistency and predictability. Okay. Whatever approach to things that you take, you must be consistent and you must be predictable. The more consistent you are and the more predictable you are, the safer you're going to be. That child will just automatically trust you more. If you're just consistent and predictable, they will just automatically trust you more. If you're inconsistent and you're unpredictable, if one day you're just clamping down and just being really hardcore and the next day you're just really burned out and you're lax, that's going to work against you big time. And I don't even necessarily think it's beneficial to be strict. In fact, I don't love strictness. I think it's important for kids to have independence and autonomy. Really important for kids to have those things, okay? But, so my number one tip, Be consistent, be predictable. Create predictability, create consistency. Okay, my number two tip, you must have a close bond. You must have a close bond with that child, okay? If they're under a high conflict parent, it's going to be naturally challenging to them to build intimate connections, okay? And it's very crucial that they have them, okay? Very crucial that they are able to build bonds and trust with people, okay? So that's got to be one of your high priorities too, is that we build and maintain a close relationship of bonding and trust. Lots of different important ways to do that. But I'm going to wrap this up. If you need some help in that regard, you can reach out to me. My email will be in the description below. And if you have a viewer question, you can email me directly. You can put it in the comments. I'll do my best to get to it. Haven't been as good about that as I would like to be. I'll do my best. I shall do my best. Anyways, thank you for being here. I hope that helps. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.